Cassar. Well, welcome to the Just As Planned TV and podcast show, where we bring you the wedding experts to your home to provide you with insider tips and knowledge to help make your special day go just as planned. Now, I'm your host and professional wedding MC, Nathan Cassar, and today we have a very special guest with us, multi-award-winning wedding photographer Kevin Du, the owner of Images by Kevin. Now, Kevin has been in the photography game for nearly 9 years. It's a long time. And he's been recognised for his outstanding work by the Australian Bridal Industry Academy, or otherwise known as ABIA, as the New South Wales Best Wedding Photographer runner-up in 2018 and a finalist from 2017 to last year in 23. But he's not just a photographer. Kevin is also a self-proclaimed best dad in the world. I love that so much. Who loves baking sourdough and is a bit of a coffee geek. I mean, I think we all have to be in the industry. That's how we survive. In fact, he's almost actually even became a chef, not a photographer, when he was younger because of his love for cooking. Kevin's business came to life when he was made redundant from his corporate job that he hated, a story I've heard all too often. It was basically his reality call, as he says, and he hasn't looked back since. He's been married for 9 years, has been in the industry for 9 years, and also married for 9 years. That is telling. And he can't believe it's almost 10 years next year in June. Happy anniversary for them. He has 2 crazy kids and a wife who he loves like no tomorrow. Today we'll be discussing all things wedding photography with Kevin, who is sharing his expert insights on how to find wedding vendors who care as much about your wedding as you do, how to find your perfect wedding photographer, and how to know who is a great wedding photographer. We'll also be talking about the importance of lighting in wedding photography, a really key part of the wedding photography journey, and also how to plan your wedding day timeline so you have enough time for everything you want to do. So, whether you're a bride-to-be, a groom-to-be, or just a photography enthusiast, sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from the best of the best. Kevin Du. Mate, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Nathan. What an intro. I love it. So cool.
I think I'm in the right industry. I think
I
I'll
think
leave the photos to you, but I think I think I'll do all right with that. So thank
yeah,
you.
sounds like
So,
cool.
so tell me, mate, 10 years almost in the industry and
Yeah,
10
no,
years almost married. How have you balanced being, away on weekends and 2 kids and everything else, but also being, a really top-notch photographer in the wedding game as well?
yeah. Look, it's definitely a juggling act between myself, my wife, and the kids, and they are really supportive of what I do, and they know that I'm going to be away on weekends. So weekend time is generally for me working, but obviously during the week I'm at home and I'm doing home things like cooking and cleaning up stuff, and doing the usual school run. 9 a.m. drop off, 3 p.m. pick up, that sort of thing. So it's good. It's good life, but you know, I think it works really well for what we do.
No, good. Well, look, if our personal life as vendors, I think any vendors listening to this, will agree with us that, if you're not dealing with your personal life effectively, just like any other wedding business or general business owner, then, you can't service the people that we give our service to. We can't be there for them. We can't do the best we can for them. So, it's great that you've found that balance that works for you and your wife and your family. So, and kudos to you. Of course, it shines through your work. I've enjoyed working with you the last time we connected, and of course, I know that you've just recently launched a new website as well, which looks fantastic. So it's great to see that things are moving along quite nicely, and you're almost a decade in the industry. You must be so proud of yourself.
Yeah, yeah, no. So it's been a really good journey. I've learned a lot over the years. Probably learned most in the last sort of 2.5 years since COVID came about myself and about whoever I want to continue doing this. And I've found that I just still love doing it after all these years. Just seeing we're involved in people's best day of their lives, and we have to um, be very appreciative of that. And there's not many people who can say that you get to spend the best day of their lives with 50 couples a year or something that that you love working with, and that's pretty cool.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. It definitely is a special place that they're inviting us into. I mean, look, we get to know them. Obviously, you and I are the kind of people that really, I know, speak for a lot of vendors out there that we care about. We really do care about what we, giving up our weekends and our middays for other people's special day. And so it's beautiful that people have trust us to be able to deliver that for them. Because let's be honest, no one really wants to do the day all over again if they could help it. So even though they love everything about their days, of course. Speaking of sort of like, us caring, it's a great segue, into the first question I want to ask you. Speaking of sort of, all of us who really do care as wedding vendors, how do couples out there identify the ones who really care about their experience as a vendor couple relationship? And like, what are your best tips for couples out there to find the people that they really vibe with as a vendor?
Yeah, cool. No, great question, because I'm sure for those who haven't been married before and they're getting, married, there's don't know what to expect in terms of how to find people, and they might ask their friends if they know someone, but what if they don't know any friends who know someone? So where do they go from there? So I guess the first thing is to look at their website and also their Instagram and sort of see, obviously you have to resonate with their work first and see, do you like the aesthetic that you see? And if that's great, then awesome. But I suppose you should look into, look at their about page and see what they're about. Because if they don't have much in their about page, then maybe you probably get some hints and tips about who they are.
That's
Reading
a
their
good
about
point. Yeah.
page. If you read their about page and you go, oh, that person actually likes to cook as well, and likes coffee, and they have a bit of a life outside of what they do, then I think you might sort of have some common ground, and I think that
No,
that's
it's a
really
really good point. It's a really, really good point. I think we don't just put those parts of the website up for fun, and expecting no one to read them. Everything about our online digital presence is meant to be, curated, and so, and of course, to help people connect with us. So I love that point. Go straight to that about page. Go when people come to you. What do you believe personally for you that people are finding that they're vibing with you when they say, "Yep, Kevin, you're the one for me"?
Yeah, I think people are vibing with my approach and what I stand for, and I'm very clear in that from the very get go. So as soon as people land on my website, they know that I'm about being very easy, very simple, honest, and transparent about everything I do. And it's clear that I love what I do, and I think if you can get that when you look at someone's website, that they love what they do and they have passion and they just want to look after you, then I think that's a really good start.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking sort of more specifically now from, say, away from general sort of vendors and how to vibe with them, speaking specifically to photography, because out of all the vendor categories, I find that photography is sort of like this, I must say, you guys have got incredible job security because out of all the categories, people are going to get food, they're going to get a venue, they're obviously going to get a celebrant or someone that can obviously take care of the legals. And then, of course, most often, 95% of the time, they're going to get a photographer like yourself as sort of like the must have. So, given that it's a really critical category in the wedding industry, how do people sift through the hundreds of photographers that are popping up, on a Google search and finding the right person that really fits them?
Yeah, look, I think yeah, that's a really good question because there's so many different places you can find a photographer, and I suppose the thing is you can always just do a bit of a Google search, and maybe type in a word that resonates with you. Maybe something like, I don't know, natural wedding photography,
Well,
um, or simple or something like that. Maybe that might help. And you might find a list of people who have that sort of approach to their style. But also things like wedding directories are really good as well. Things like Hello May, Junebug, Easy Weddings, that sort of thing. They have lots of photographers on there, but there's also a lot of them too. So you just got to sort of quickly sift through them and I guess have a short list, maybe a short list, 5 to start with, and then you probably want to meet with a good 2 or 3 of them, just so you can get a sense of who they are. I definitely recommend meeting in person if you can, so you can actually get to know who they are personally and know their mannerisms and what they're going to be like on the day. Because there's nothing worse than having a disconnect between the photographer, their style and what you're looking for, and the personality as well. Because you need to think about it. The photographer is going to be with you for 12, 13 hours a day if your day's that long, and they're going to be with your best friends and family and the people who you care about most. So you want that person to be very friendly, trustworthy, and you just want them to be a person that you can hang around with all day long.
No, it's a
That's the,
great point. It's a fantastic point, and I think because obviously I'm sure you've been to many people's homes. Like unlike me, where I'm explicitly just going to the venues to do my job, bar a couple of at-home weddings, which I have done and will do in the future. But typically I'm not part of that environment. Whereas they're like, okay, so what's your home address? I'm here I come. And so I think it's a great metric to sort of be like, okay, would this person or this team be the kind of people that we would open the door to our home and feel comfortable and safe and happy? And I think that'd be a fantastic metric to follow as a baseline. But then also in terms of the realms of editing styles as well, because that's a whole other thing. You may feel comfortable with the person, but yet at the same time, their editing style may not necessarily fit. What would you recommend couples out there listening to sort of how to discern between those and find something that really vibes with them?
yeah, I think if you look at their portfolio, you see a consistency of work across their entire portfolio. And that's another thing that I would say as well is make sure you ask to see the entire wedding gallery from them as well, not just the best hits from Instagram or their best hits on their website, because anyone can put together best hits on Instagram.
That's true.
If you can consistently do a great job across a few weddings, then you can see what they're going to what the result's going to be like from the very beginning to the very end of the day, because you want to see consistency of work as well, and as well as the consistency of editing, and just making sure that the colors that they edit their photos resonate with you, because every photographer is different and everyone has their own way of doing things, and they're all great in their own respect, but you need to have it resonate with you as well. It's,
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, is it like a moment, like when you're talking with your couples, right, and you're meeting them in person, you're showing them your galleries and stuff? Is there a moment you see on people's faces that you're just like, yeah, they've discovered me? Like, do you find that look in their eye that you can see?
yeah, no, you can see it in their eyes, and you can just see their body language when they're talking to each other and they're looking at each other and go, hey, what? I like this. This is very nice, and it's nice when you can actually see physical albums as well. That's why I like to have people in my studio, because I've got 20 albums people can see, and I just pull out the ones that would be relevant to their day, and show them, and they can sort of see, this is how my wedding's going to look and what it could look
Yeah.
on print. And there's nothing better than doing your photos on actual paper, and you know you flick through the leather, it smells amazing, it just looks good. So yeah, if you can see physical copies too, that's better. But if you can't see that, then obviously a request for a full gallery, probably free even if you can. It's like, can I see more of your work? I'm really keen, and I think that's a good start.
Love it. Oh, it's always got to start somewhere, and I think that's a really, really great way of sort of culling, choices that are out there. I mean,
Mhm.
it's incredible the amount of photographers out there, and of course, the full spectrum from those who are just starting out to people who have just signed up with an agency versus someone like yourself who's going full time. Did you ever start with an agency, or you've always been just a solo operator?
Yeah, no, I worked with a few larger companies in the past, and obviously they taught me a lot, and that was good. But photographers who are newer in the industry, and they might be super keen and super excited, but their work might not be as polished as someone who's been around for 10 years, and they might be obviously cheaper in their services accordingly, and they have to be, but they might be a really good photographer as well. But um, I think if you want to have a wedding day without stress, then you might want to look at someone who has a bit more experience, if that's something of importance to you. If your photography is the number one thing that's of the on the high list, And if that's on the high list for you, then maybe you might want to invest a bit more in that.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And
Mm.
speaking of something very specific that obviously, when I'm making sure, like one of the first questions I will ask yourself, I've been here with you before on site, or when we get to the reception, or any other, like a lot of the biggest questions that I want to make sure is done correctly on the reception, and of course it's big for you, is lighting, because we're inside the venue space. But of course lighting is, important anywhere in terms of the outside spaces. You're out, the shadows, the lightings, the sun, whatever else like that. So speaking specifically of lighting, give us a little bit of insight into how important it is guiding the photography that comes out at the end, and sort of, is there any way that couples can or should influence it, or is it just best to sort of just say, yep, you're the photographer, I'm going to hand that responsibility over to you, and sort of let that play out?
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people have not much idea about lighting and how it affects photos. So just to give you a brief rundown how it works. Obviously, the closer it is to the end of the day, so you notice when you're walking out in the street and the sun is coming down and it looks amazing, right? Yeah, it's the same thing with wedding photography, right? So if you're having photos done, it's winter time and it's 4:30 in the afternoon. That's going to be the best lighting of the day, of course. So we have this saying called golden hour. So
Oh yes,
golden
I've
hour
heard this. Yeah.
yeah, 1 hour before the sun goes down. So if you Google sunset time, this is another hint for you as well. Google sunset time at wedding day. So Google sunset time 14 April, for example. Google will tell you exactly when that sun's going to go down. So if it's 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the afternoon, sorry, 4:30, 1 hour before. So
Yeah, this
really,
is really critical,
yeah.
because a lot of my couples is becoming very, very popular now, and I'm assuming that's obviously been driven by people like yourself, to do the golden hour shots, or to do sunset shots in between the reception times, which does have a pretty critical effect on the run sheet itself. Not in a bad way. It's just we just have to amend it, which means that in Australia we're really lucky that we have a 365-day 12-month wedding season, technically speaking. We have often off peaks and high peaks, but typically we can do weddings throughout the year. And so those sunset times and golden hours will change, but it is really critical that those particular times, and you seeing more couples like I am really wanting that to be a big feature of their galleries.
Yeah, I think so, because I guess they've seen the photos that I've taken and many other photographers have taken as well, and they say, oh, I really want to have that sort of lighting in my day. Obviously, conditioned to being cloudy or not, but
Yeah.
and raining, for example. But yeah, so if they really want to have those photos, then and they they're aware of how it's going to affect their timing on the day, then we would sort of work around that and say, say for example, your ceremony starts at 3:30 during winter time. So 3:30, ceremony might go for half an hour, for example, or four. Leave 20 minutes for family photos, 4:30, and then you've got that sort of time, the hour before sunset.
No, it's
So
perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And I think it really speaks to the idea that people should be, yes, there's a lot to plan. So obviously that's why you're listening to this podcast. But like there is a lot to plan, perhaps, but keeping that in mind in terms of when you're planning, say your on-site ceremony or even your offset ceremony where your shot's going to be done later on, and then that corresponds to an appropriate amount of time getting to your wedding venue afterwards, perhaps if it's an inner city venue or something like that. Definitely something to keep in mind in the sort of top of mind as they're making those bookings. Speaking of the timeline overall, because run sheets are sort of like the bane of a bride and groom's existence. That's why I love doing them for them, because obviously, and I'm sure you do too, because it really helps them to take a lot of stress out of it. Two questions here, two separate questions. One, how much can they leverage their photography, videography teams to help them out with the run sheet? And then secondly, basically, what are your hot tips to be able to formulate a great run sheet so that everything runs smoothly and they can get everything they want out of it?
cool, great question. Yeah, so no, I help all my couples with timelines, and I actually wrote a really good blog post about timelines, like a very long one that is super helpful. So if you want to check it out on my website, feel free to do that
Yeah.
on my blog. Feel free to talk to me. Thanks. uh, so yeah, so that's I basically wrote like a list of certain timelines for certain types of wedding days. So if you have say getting ready photos, for example, you'd want to give at least about an hour, hour and a half for that, say for between bride and groom. And then obviously allow for travel time between there and ceremony if that happens to be on location or off location. So from there, the ceremony time as well. So just factor that in, and then whatever how long that is, could be a church, could be outside somewhere. So you would know, each person will know how long that would take, I suppose, talking to the celebrant. And then for photos, yeah. So this is quite important. I recommend about an hour for photos at least. So if you can allow an hour, great. If you can't, then your photographer will probably work around that. But if you can have an hour, you're going to be more relaxed. Everyone's going to be more relaxed. There's not as much rushing around. So you want to be you don't want to rush yourself on a day if you can. So if you build a little bit of say what I call it, contingency time. So give yourself 15 minutes extra for everything, then you'll be quite thankful at the end of the day. And also, if you're really keen on family photos, which a lot of my clients are, factor that time as well. So that could be straight after the ceremony, could be 20 minutes, half an hour, depending how many groups you got. But then after that, you've got the rest of the time to yourself. So, and from there it goes to reception. So you kind of have a reception start time, and you've got to work towards that time, and from there.
That's when I come in. That's when usually if I'm on site or for an MC or so forth. But yeah, obviously when I pick up that time, I'm told a lot of the time, hey, we want to do the sunset shot. So I go, okay, great. Well, we'll happy days. I do make my couples aware of a funny phenomenon I call photography standard time, which is you guys love to take my brides and grooms away for great shots. Don't get me wrong, like beautiful shots. I just say, hey, like any contingency you build in, like nothing's going to happen specifically to the minute, which is how you should be planning this stuff out. But definitely worth it when I've seen some of these sunset shots come back, or even like the nighttime shots, which I've been seeing as a really common thing, or becoming more common these days, particularly with a singular sparkler or some sort of fun lighting aspect that they're doing as well. So lots happening in the photography world. Kevin, thank you so much for sharing your insights. You've given people lots to think about today. Where can people, tell us quickly, where can people find you on the web?
Yeah, so I'd love to hear from you when you're ready to hit me up. So the best way to contact me is through my Instagram. Images by Kevin Weddings is my hashtag. Or just visit my website, www.imagesbykevin.com.au.
Fantastic. So easy to find you, and I hope that people continue to do so, because you're a pleasure to work with, one of the best I've worked with in a far long time. So I genuinely appreciate. No, of course, mate. No, look, it's good vendors working together is a dream team like people don't even realize. So it really does make your wedding go so much better just because we have a synergy on the day. So Kevin, you've definitely earned your awards. You've earned your place in this industry. I congratulate you on your 10-year anniversary coming up later in the year, and thanks for tuning in and coming to us today, and I hope to catch up with you soon.
Yeah, thanks. Now looking forward to seeing you again. The last time we worked together was pretty rad, so you did an awesome job with the wedding that we worked together. No, it was good fun.
Appreciate it, brother. Take care.
Thank you. See ya. Cheers.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Just As Planned TV and podcast show. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found some valuable insights and tips to help you plan your dream wedding. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on our channel and turn on notifications to stay up to date with our latest episodes. And if today's episode has inspired you in your own wedding journey, feel free to let us know in the comment section, or simply send through any burning questions you may have to hello@justasplan.com.au. We wish you all the very best in planning your big day, and we hope your wedding goes just as planned.